It is the breaking news this morning. Struggle icon Andrew Mlangeni has died. Now, Mlangeni passed on a few hours after the ANC issued a statement wishing him a speedy recovery. It's being reported that Mlangeni, who was admitted at one military hospital in Pretoria, died at around 1 a.m. this morning. President Cyril Ramaphosa has already released a statement to announce the news of his passing. Mkhulu, as Mlangeni was fondly known, had just celebrated his 95th birthday just about a month ago. Now, in June. So Newzroom Afrika's politics editor, Ngalwa, is on the line to us now to reflect on the life and times of Mlangeni and, of course, to give us a sense of the significance of his passing. So, Sbu, whilst the details are still coming in, one thing is for sure: we've certainly arrived at an end of an era.
Obviously, it is the end of a glorious era, I must say. And also I think it's an important reminder for South Africans of the sacrifices that were made by leaders like Mlangeni. All those years ago. And I think what he also exemplified, and I think that's what he wanted to be remembered by. You would recall, that we had an interview with him a month ago, just before his birthday. And he did say during his birthday that all he would want to be remembered by is that he is someone who dedicated his life to the struggle, and he lived by that. And this is a man, who's lived in Soweto since 1954. He went to jail for 27 years, came back and still lived in Soweto because he always believed that he has to be close to the people he represents, that it is important for leaders to remain among the people. I think he's one of the few ANC leaders, besides the late Mama Winnie Mandela, who remained in the township of Soweto throughout their lifetime. And I think that's what Mlangeni exemplified, because, this is a guy who was in the Rivonia trial with the life of Mandela. This was the guy who was the first recruit, as he told us, into MK. Surely you'd have expected him to have pursued high office, but no, throughout his whole life, he nearly served parliamentary committees and he nearly served as a backbencher because he always believed that he was a servant.
Yeah, the president in a statement just a short while ago describing him as a champion and exemplar of the values that we need to build a South Africa that provides dignity and opportunity for all. Certainly, without a doubt, this is how the man will be remembered today.
Especially at a time, when we're dealing with rampant corruption. This is one thing that's said in Mlangeni. It is corruption which permeates every layer or every level of government. He has said how disappointed he was, particularly in the leadership of President Jacob Zuma, and how things deteriorated under his leadership and how rampant corruption is. Now, if anything, I think his values, the true values of service, is what probably this country, and particularly the ANC, needs. And I think it truly represents the cadre, or what an ANC cadre ought to be, or what the kind of values that the ANC has always espoused throughout the years, not what we see these days with the ANC leaders facing charges of corruption and refusing to actually account for those.
Yeah, and that's going to be the ANC's biggest challenge, I guess, in the coming days, weeks, and possibly years to come, isn't it? Trying to, reflect meaningfully on what Andrew Mlangeni stood for whilst dealing with the myriad of challenges you've just outlined is certainly going to be complex at best.
And that is the crossroads that the ANC finds itself in. But it's of its own doing, Ayanda. The ANC, no one is the cause of the ANC's ill. It is the ANC that is electing leaders who are compromised into high office, and those leaders using their office to defend themselves against corruption, against charges or malfeasance. So what needs to happen, or the reality, Ayanda, is that it is while it is said the passing of Andrew Mlangeni, one would hope that the ANC would use the opportunity to reflect on itself and look at the kind of leaders that it had, the glorious leaders whose profiles are written in terms of what they did in the struggle, in terms of their sacrifice, and look at the kind of leaders it says now and ask itself the questions of whether it truly represents those values. And I think the answer for me is no, it does not.
Yeah. The reality, though, Sbu, is that Baba Mlangeni didn't just belong to the ANC. It's certainly an icon upheld by South Africans across the board and sometimes even the global community. How best do you think we should be remembering him, especially just moments after learning of his passing?
think more than anything, Ayanda, the one thing he always believed in, 1954, this guy has lived in the same house in Soweto. If you go to his house, it's still there. He lived among the people of Soweto. He was humble. So all that I think Mlangeni reminds us of, and would be calling on everyone, every South African to do, is to actually do their best to improve the lot or the lives of others. That is all that he believed, without any expectation of remuneration or reward or high office, but to just live your life in an exemplary manner, where he's known for, he loved golf, he loved a good time, and he loved his whiskey. When we were with him the last time, he offered whiskey, but he could not drink it because we were working. But he was just a personable person. He was one guy who would welcome you into his home regardless of who you are. And I think that kind of humility is something that is so lacking these days with leaders in society, be they political or business or otherwise. I think that level of humility and being grounded is one value that is most lacking, and that thing that one would remember that Mlangeni for.
Ngalwa is the politics editor here on Newzroom Afrika. Sbu, thanks very much indeed for your time. Of course, Sbu, reflecting on the lives and times of Ubaba Mlangeni. The breaking news this morning, Andrew Mlangeni having passed on at the age of 95.